Welcome back to my channel Knowledge Chronicle.
Imagine for a moment that an alien from a far-off galaxy landed on Earth. What would blow his mind first? Not our technology, not our cities, but something far more incredible. The unbelievable diversity of life on this planet. From tiny insects to towering trees, from coral reefs to snow leopards, Earth is bursting with living organisms of all shapes, sizes, and colors. But why is this diversity so important? What if we lost it? And how much do we really know? Welcome to Knowledge Chronicle. Today we're diving into the incredible world of biodiversity, what it means, why it matters, and how it's being lost faster than ever before. So let's begin. So, what exactly is biodiversity? The term biodiversity, popularized by the sociobiologist Edward Wilson, means the total variety of life forms at all levels of biological organization. It's kind of amazing when you think about just how much life there is, right? Biodiversity exists at three main levels. First up is genetic diversity. This basically refers to the variation of genes within a species. For instance, take the medicinal plant Rauwolfia vomitoria. Depending on where it grows in the Himalayas, its chemical composition actually varies. That's genetic diversity at work. In India alone, we actually have about 50,000 genetically different strains of rice and over 1,000 varieties of mangoes. That's why, every mango tastes a little different. Next, we have species diversity. This refers to the variety of species within a region. For example, the Western Ghats have a higher diversity of amphibians than the Eastern Ghats. So, every time you hear a frog croak in the Western Ghats, you might actually be hearing a new species. So, ecological diversity basically means the variety of ecosystems in a region. India is a fantastic example of this. Deserts, rainforests, coral reefs, wetlands, mangroves, and even alpine meadows, all packed into one country. That's ecological diversity in action for sure. So, how many species are there really? According to the IUCN back in 2004, about 1.5 million species have been formally described. But is that all? Not even close. Biologist Robert May estimates that there are nearly 7 million species in total, and honestly, some estimates even go up to 50 million. Here's the twist. Over 70% of all known species are animals, and insects alone make up 70% of that. That's right, 7 out of every 10 animals are actually insects. And here's another shocker. Fungi actually outnumber the total species of fishes, amphibians, reptiles, and mammals combined. And what about prokaryotes like bacteria? Honestly, we can't even guess their numbers because they're just so hard to study and don't really grow easily in labs. But if we go by genetic methods, their species count might actually run into millions too. India is truly a biodiversity powerhouse. Even though India covers just about 2.4% of Earth's land area, it actually harbors 8.1% of global biodiversity, making it one of the 12 mega-diverse nations in the world. We've recorded around 45,000 plant species and 90,000 animal species. But if we extrapolate Robert May's estimate, there could be over 4 lakh species just waiting to be discovered in India alone. Yet, we are losing many of them before we even get a chance to name them. It's honestly like a vast biological library burning before we've had a chance to read all the books. So, let's talk about patterns of biodiversity. Biodiversity is not really spread evenly across the planet. Let's try to understand two fascinating patterns. So, here's the thing about the latitudinal gradient. Biodiversity actually decreases as you move from the equator toward the poles. But why does that happen? Well, the tropics have existed for millions of years without glaciation, which means they've had way more time for evolution. Plus, they're climatically stable, which promotes niche specialization. And of course, they receive more sunlight, meaning there's more energy available, and that just supports more life overall. For example, Colombia, which is near the equator, has about 1,400 bird species, but Greenland, which is way up near the poles, it only has 56. And if you look at the Amazon rainforest, it's actually the most diverse ecosystem in the world. It's home to over 1,25,000 invertebrates, 40,000 plant species, and 3,000 fish species. That's just mind-blowing, right? Now, moving on to the species-area relationship. German naturalist Alexander von Humboldt noticed something pretty interesting. The larger the area you explore, the greater the species richness. but only up to a certain point. So, yeah, that's a key idea in understanding biodiversity. So, this relationship actually forms a rectangular hyperbola. And when you look at it on a log scale, it turns into a straight line. The formula goes like this: log S equals log C plus Z log A. Here's what those symbols mean. S stands for the number of species, A is the area, Z is the slope, and C is a constant. For smaller areas, Z usually ranges between 0.1 and 0.2, but for entire continents, it jumps all the way to 0.6 up to 1.2. Basically, the bigger the area, the more species you'll find. But in tropical regions, the number of species rises dramatically. So, why is biodiversity important? Does having more biodiversity actually mean a better ecosystem? Well, according to ecologist David Tillman, the answer is yes. Plots with more species had way more stable biomass. Higher diversity also means higher productivity, and the ecosystem becomes more resilient to things like natural disasters or invasions. So Paul Ehrlich gave a perfect analogy. Think of an airplane that's held together by thousands of rivets, each rivet representing a species. If you remove one or two, the plane still flies, right? But if you keep removing them, well, one day the plane crashes. That's basically our ecosystem. Loss of biodiversity. This is what scientists are calling the sixth mass extinction. There have been 5 mass extinctions in Earth's history, but now we're entering the 6th, and it's caused entirely by humans. According to the IUCN, in the last 500 years, 784 species have gone extinct, including the dodo of Mauritius, the quagga of Africa, the thylacine of Australia, and several subspecies of tigers. And, over 15,500 species today are on the brink of extinction. So let's talk about something called the evil quartet. These are, the main causes behind biodiversity loss. First up, we have habitat loss and fragmentation. For example, the Amazon rainforest is being cleared to grow soya or to raise cattle. It's kind of shocking, but what used to be 14% of Earth's surface is now just 6%. Next, there's over-exploitation. Basically, when need turns into greed, species really start to suffer. Just look at Stella's sea cow, the passenger pigeon, and, so many marine fish species, all affected by humans taking way more than what's sustainable. So, let's talk about alien species invasion. The Nile perch in Lake Victoria actually wiped out over 200 fish species, which is pretty shocking. And then, there are invasive plants like Parthenium, lantana, and water hyacinth. All of them are really harming Indian ecosystems. Plus, the African catfish, Clarias gariepinus, is now threatening local fish species in Indian rivers. It's honestly a big concern for biodiversity. Co-extinction, it's a pretty important concept. When one species dies, so do others connected to it. For example, if a host fish dies, all its parasites die too. Or if a pollinator goes extinct, the plant species it pollinated might follow as well. So, in summary, biodiversity is the total variety of life at all biological levels. It gives us food, medicines, oxygen, and even climate stability. India, by the way, is one of the world's richest countries in biodiversity. But we're losing species at a pace that's honestly 100 to 1,000 times faster than ever before. We must act now to conserve, to restore, and to protect. We are passengers on a fragile airplane called Earth. How many rivets will we remove before it crashes? The future of biodiversity, well, it's in our hands. If you found this video valuable, your one like, share, and subscribe will help us create more valuable content. See you in the next episode of Knowledge Chronicle.